I've got the recipe for you. This dip is just amazing. It just melts in your mouth. Ooh. Bon appetit. Hey everybody, I'm Vera Stewart and welcome to the Very Vera Show. Today I'm excited to be offering you recipes out of the VeryVera Cookbook. I'm so excited about this project and I can't wait to share 3 of my absolute favorites. We're also going to be talking about how menu planning can be so helpful in getting your day organized. We're going to start with a classic 4-cheese quiche. It was served in our cafe. Everybody loved it. You can eat it for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And then a pasta salad with a lemon basil sauce that is scrumptious. And then finally, our chicken and wild rice casserole, which is going to be your go-to for anything quick for a dinner. And then in Vera's Corner today, we're going to talk about 3 different recipes for lemonade. So I don't know about you, I'm ready to get started. All right, we're going to get started on one of the classic recipes from the VeryVera retail store and our mail order company. We actually shipped this product all over the United States, and it really came about by chance for us realizing that this freezed very, very well, and that was how we shipped our cakes. So this became a very popular item to order through the mail. So what we've done here, if you have your cookbook, the recipe is on page 92. If you don't have a cookbook yet, we've got an absolute big surprise at the end of the show today. So stick around and I'm going to tell you more about that. So we've started with a pre-baked pie shell. And I highly recommend in the book and anytime these already rolled out Pillsbury pie crust. If the filling is the key ingredient in a pie and you don't have time to make a pie crust from scratch, I absolutely recommend this product. So I'm using my pottery pie dish today that Rachel Shifter, who used to be our associate producer, her family gave me this from North Carolina. Love to use it. I've pricked and crimped the edge and his baked for about 10 minutes just to get it kind of halfway pre-baked before we add the other ingredients. The next step is to get all of this cheese added to the pie crust. So I've got mozzarella. This is about a half a cup of each of these cheeses. I always hand grate my cheese. There's just something about it that you don't have that coating on the outside that you have when you buy cheese that's already grated, and it's just really part of making this a very fresh and good dish. All right, the next step is I've already got my 5 eggs in my bowl. I'm going to whisk those together, and these are large eggs. All right, so the 4th cheese, because this is 4-cheese quiche, is the ricotta cheese. So I'll add that in, and heavy cream. And again, we're just going to whisk this together. And you know, it's hard to cook and eat at the same time, and certainly the cheeses that you're using today are kind of salty, especially the Swiss cheese. So you're going to want to kind of salt and pepper to taste. It's not going to need much salt, but I actually like a good bit of pepper in it. All right, so that's blended very nicely. I'm going to go ahead and add in some freshly cracked pepper, and I like a lot of that. And maybe just a pinch of kosher salt. Whisk that together, and this is just going to pour right into your pie shell. And this is going to go about halfway up on the edge. But with all of those eggs, it's really going to puff up really beautifully at the end. So like I said, this pie, and this is going to go in a 350-degree oven for 15 minutes. And then you're going to reduce the heat to 275 and leave it in for about another 25 or until it's nice and golden brown. This is going to freeze beautifully. Like I said earlier, it's great for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. The presentation on this today is going to be amazing. So I'm going to get this in the oven. When we come back from the break, I'm going to get started on that pasta salad with the basil dressing that is amazing. So come back with me in just a few minutes. Okay, welcome back everybody, and if you're just joining me, we are making recipes out of the VeryVera Cookbook, which is a project took me a couple of years and it's been a life dream fulfilled. So we have the four cheese quiche in the oven, smelling amazing. And now we're going to work on a pasta salad that was the favorite side dish when people came in to eat lunch in the cafe. You could pick your side, and generally speaking, if it wasn't soup, it was the lemon basil pasta salad. So we've gone ahead and cooked our shell pasta. This is just a medium-sized pasta, so it is all ready to go. Then I've got 4 great ingredients that are going to go in there with it. We're going to start with just some fresh peas. We're going to add in red pepper. It's just such a colorful salad. And I know y'all are looking for a new recipe for a pasta salad. We've got black olives, and you could use green if you wanted to. And then we've got scallions. So you have got a bowl full, and I'm actually going to go ahead and just kind of start mixing that together with my hands, just so you can see how colorful this salad is. All right, so we have got 2 cups of Hellmann's mayonnaise, and we are going to add in some lemon juice, and this is freshly squeezed, and garlic. Now, when you make this dressing, the secret to keeping this and all of your mayonnaise-based salads from getting wilted looking or runny is that we're only going to put half of this in the bowl. And we're going to put the rest of it on right before we get ready to serve it. And so these are some of my tips from my years in catering. The parent company of ours is actually my catering business that I started in my home kitchen back in 1984. And needless to say, you have to learn what you can do ahead and what you can freeze if you're preparing food for 600 people. All right, let's put this fresh basil in there. It's about a half a cup. And you know, that's such an easy herb to grow yourself. So anytime you can be able to say, and actually the basil in that recipe, I grew myself in my little pot on my deck, is always nice. All right, so you've got this together. And going back to the mayonnaise, you know, people say, well, what kind of mayonnaise do you use? And that's kind of a southern thing. And it's always a cross between whether you use Duke's or Hellmann's. And you know, I just grew up in a house where everybody used Hellmann's mayonnaise. So I'm going to just start adding, like I said, we're just going to add about half of this now. And then you'll refrigerate it. And right before you get ready to serve it, that's when you're going to add some more. So this makes quite a bit. Again, on menu planning, this is something that can't freeze, but it's going to stay fresh in the refrigerator for at least 5 days. And so when you make it, make enough to eat it again several times during the week, or take some to your neighbor, or take it to work and share the bounty there. So this is just about enough to just get those flavors to start to work together and really look good, smell good, and taste good. So in Vera's Corner today, I'm going to give you some tips on how to make the best lemonade ever. 3 different recipes. And then when we come back, we're going to get started on that chicken and wild rice casserole. So come back with me in just a few minutes. For me, there's nothing more enjoyable than an ice-cold glass of lemonade when the temperatures are rising. Today, I'm going to share 3 twists on how to make the perfect glass. I'll start with classic lemonade. In a small saucepan, combine sugar and water. Bring to a boil and stir to dissolve the sugar. Allow to cool to room temperature, then cover and refrigerate until chilled. Remove the seeds from the fresh lemon juice, but leave the pulp. In a pitcher, stir together the chilled syrup, lemon juice, and more water. Next is blackberry lemonade. In a large saucepan, bring water and sugar to a boil. Boil for 2 minutes, stirring occasionally. Remove from the heat. Stir in lemon juice, lemon zest, and water, then cool slightly. Process 1 cup of the lemon mixture and a cup of blackberries in a blender. Strain and discard the seeds. Pour the blackberry mixture and remaining lemon mixture into a pitcher, stir well, and refrigerate. Finally, rosemary lemonade. In a small saucepan, bring water to a boil, add rosemary sprigs, reduce the heat, and simmer covered for 10 minutes. Remove and discard the rosemary. Stir in sugar and honey until dissolved. Transfer to a pitcher and refrigerate for 15 minutes. Add lemon juice and stir in cold water. Well, I'm sure you're thirsty right about now because that lemonade looks amazing. And actually, my favorite one is the one with the rosemary. Just is so refreshing. All right, so this is another favorite from the cookbook. The chicken and wild rice casserole is just the best dish and was actually sold in Costco. So we had 3 products that were sold in Costco, and this was one of the favorites. And through that process, we learned a lot about how to make this and freeze this and have it as a successful presentation to put on your dinner table, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a few minutes. But what we've gone ahead and done was I've got my chicken ready, and we suggest boiling the boneless, skinless chicken breast. It just adds that little bit of more moisture to it, and since it's going to be cooked, you don't have to get it completely done when you're doing this process. And then if you're gonna call this chicken and wild rice casserole, what you should be able to see is the chicken. And so I really suggest a nice, large chunk of chicken when you cut it up. So I've got that ready. And then the wild and white rice part of this dish. The Uncle Ben's box of wild rice and white rice mix is the perfect consistency to use. What you don't want to use that's in that box is the seasoning packet that goes with it. We're also going to suggest in the recipe that you cook this rice in chicken stock. So don't follow the package directions, follow the directions that are in the cookbook on the recipe for how to cook this rice. So the rice is ready, it's nice and fluffy, it's perfect consistency. Now I'm gonna add in my chicken. And this is, this is just a great supper dish. It is a wonderful dish to take to a friend. We've got some wonderful things that are now gonna be added to it. A little bit of chopped celery. Water chestnuts give that little bit of a crunch. So some people don't like that. If you'd rather not put that in, you can certainly leave that off. And then a little bit of English peas. So let's just mix that all together. And like I said, I think the compliment we got more than anything was the fact that there was so much chicken in this dish. This is the perfect time to just pick up the whole boneless, skinless chicken breast when they're on sale. So you've always got something to be able to put this together. All right, the next part of this recipe that makes it great is the sauce that goes with it. I always use Hellmann's mayonnaise, but you can use whatever brand you like. I recommend that one because I know it works well. There's a lot of oil in mayonnaise, and sometimes it can get a little bit too oily if you use an off-name brand. Okay, so I'm gonna add to that a little bit of garlic salt, onion powder, kosher salt, and I love the crunch in the kosher salt, so use that if you have it, black pepper, and then we're gonna add in some Dijon mustard, a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. So now we got a little bit of a punch going with this, which is a different flavor, and you can actually taste that in the recipe. And then freshly squeezed lemon juice. All right, So I'm going to mix this together. And I've gone ahead and prepared my pan with some pan spray. But you know, another thing you could do is go ahead and put this into disposable pans. Make enough for yourself, make enough to take to someone as a gift. I'm going to add in my freshly grated cheddar cheese. Now all of this is going to go in with the chicken. And see, it's a nice, thick, rich cream sauce. All right, so let's stir that up. And what I was going to tell you about the freezing process is that this is best if you freeze it, if you then cook it from a frozen state. And so whatever the cooking time is, you want to add about 10 extra minutes if you cook it from the frozen state. All right, so I'm going to pour this in the pan, top it with a little bit of bacon and some more cheddar cheese, and it's going to go into a 350-degree oven. So in just a few minutes, we'll look at the final presentation. Okay, everybody, I've had the best time today reliving what it was like a couple of years ago when we were putting this cookbook together. Certainly all of these recipes were very familiar to us, but just to retest and photograph and get ready was just really quite an experience. It's been a lot of fun today going back through that. And we've recreated the cover kind of today for our presentation element. When we worked on the cookbook, you know, the cover is probably the biggest thing that you have to think about. And our publisher, Story Farm, had said, you might not know what the cover is until the very end. Well, Emily and I had kind of had an idea of what the cover might look like, and we staged it that way. And Peter Frank Edwards, our photographer from Charleston, was really instrumental in making sure that that happened. We got it just right. He was such a great photographer to work with, and obviously the photography in the book, just flipping through, looking at all the pages and the enormous amount of recipes that are there, he did a tremendous job. Take a look. Today we're photographing for the VeryVera Cookbook.
Come on, let me get it!
This cookbook is going to represent all the recipes that have been part of VeryVera for years. Peter Frank Edwards is our photographer, and honestly, we were friends instantly. She's creeping. He's starting to get on my last nerve. That Frank, he's on restriction.
Let's go.
But what we're working on right now is potentially the cover shot.
Let's do a test shot and talk about it in a second. A little bit to the left.
The process of getting the photo done is many, many hours of food preparation, gathering all the props that would be in the photography, making sure you've got all the right elevation, the serving pieces, the wood, pottery, sterling silver. Do you polish it? Do you leave it tarnished? I love it. We're going to have 6 days of photography. We'll have approximately 78 recipes.
Oh, that was gold.
Every recipe tells a story, and the picture is going to represent that story. I'm so excited about this book. It's coming out really soon, and I hope you'll pick a copy up and get one for your friend.
Got it.
So today we've got our 3 recipes that we made. The 4-cheese quiche that we've done in a pottery dish, same dish that's on the cover of the book. And then we garnished it with just some very thinly sliced radishes and some fresh mint leaves. It just looks incredible. Slices up beautifully. And then the pasta salad is in the bowl on the cover of the cookbook that's made from a tree, just hollowed out. It's one of my favorite bowls to use when I'm entertaining. That's going to be delicious. And then finally, the chicken and wild rice casserole. We wanted a pop of color in the book. So this is not an old piece, but it's certainly one that's very familiar to me. This red casserole dish, I love using it. And then the other components here, the jar, the ball jar with our utensils in it, these are actually my mother's baby shoes. So Peter was humoring me when he kept letting me add things into the cookbook photography that meant something to me. The book is dedicated to my mother, and when we were taking the pictures that day, I remember thinking, what's today? And somebody said, well, it's August the 31st. My mother would have been 100 years old on the day we did this cover, and the book is dedicated to her. And so in celebration of that, which was just a few weeks ago, we are going to give a very special gift to all of you today. In celebration of the book and in memory of my mother, we've got a special promotional code that we're offering to go with the book. Betty 102, that's Betty 102, because she would have been 102 on her last birthday. And if you use that code within the next week, by next Wednesday, you can get the cookbook for 50% off. So we hope you will go online. This is an online offer only, to our website at VeryVera.com. Get a copy of the book, maybe order 2 or 3 for gifts, because this is a very special offer. And as I always say on the Very Vera Show, no matter what you do, do it in good taste. We really want you to cook from the book. Send us pictures on Instagram and follow us at VeryVera Stewart. And I'll see you next week for another episode of the Very Vera Show.
To see what's cooking with the Very Vera Show, follow us on Facebook and Instagram and on Cottage Ketchup.